What happens at laser tag never stays at laser tag.
Laser Unfocused Tag Talk.
Laser Unfocused Tag Talk.
I feel like you could be like in Ghostbusters or something.
Oh my God, you have got some stories.
Let's talk about laser tag.
Who knew you were a laser tag legend?
Time to get laser unfocused. Tag Talk with Tivia.
Welcome to Laser Unfocused Tag Talk. Hi, I'm Tivia. The first place team at the 2024 U.S. Armageddon Laser Tag Tournament has plenty to talk about as we hear from them about their secrets to success at this year's event. I'm delighted to be joined by the first place winners of this year's U.S. Armageddon, Fatness is Angels. Thank you so much for joining me, guys.
Hello. Hey. Hello.
All right, now I'd love to go around and just have everybody take a moment to introduce yourselves. Give me your name, your code name, and where are you from?
All right, I'll go first, I suppose. I'm Mark, Double O Fatness, and I am from Austin, Texas.
I'll take it over. I am Ryan. I am Cool Cat and from West Bend, Wisconsin now.
I'm Thomas Mahogany Woods. I'm from Warren, Ohio.
I'm Braden. I'm Papa Smurf, and I'm from Canton, Ohio.
I'm Mish. My name is Vestair, and I'm from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
I'm Mike Turner. I'm the Brit, and surprisingly, I come from the UK, just outside London. I live in Essex, UK. So there you go.
I'm Chris, known as Cookie. I'm from North Tonawanda, New York.
And I'm Jason Bach. I play as the Baron, and I am currently in Tiffin, Ohio. I have been playing laser tag for 40 years now.
Well, that's awesome. And congratulations to all of you for taking your first place honors here. Now, this year's Armageddon was a little bit different. It was a draft event. So I want to start by asking your captain, what were some of your thoughts as you were making your picks of these guys who were by your side for the 4 days of the competition? What went into that whole draft process and picking this team?
Well, to start with, I was trying to get maximum value from players whose value I knew well. And I got super lucky because I was able to draft with my first couple of picks, two people that I've been friends with and have played with a lot and knew what they brought to the table. So I started off pretty happy with where I was because I got two guys, I knew what they gave me, and I didn't have to worry about what their strengths and weaknesses were because I pretty much already knew. And after that, it was really a matter of picking players that I knew enough about, that I knew what they'd be strong at, and players who I knew had a pretty good disposition that would fit in well. We wouldn't have to worry about having a lot of strife or a lot of back talk conversations where we've struggled to figure out what we were going to do. And I feel like I did a really good job in that front because this group of people turned out to be just absolutely locked in on the same page. Everybody listening, everybody wanted to add in without being a problem. Nobody was worried about who was winning games. All we cared about was winning as a team.
Well, that is part of the secret sauce for sure. And I think everybody was, a little unsure about how would this go. And this is the first time U.S. Armageddon has had a draft. Now, most of you have played before. I know Mahogany Woods, this was your first time, correct?
Yes. Yes, okay. It was my first experience.
All right. So I want your perspective separate from this, but I'd love to ask the other guys, how did you all feel about the draft format? You've all played teams at Armageddon before. So what were your thoughts? How did this go?
I'll go first real quick. This is my third Armageddon, but I would say out of all three, for sure, this was my most exciting one. I had never talked to a single person really, outside of a few highs, goodbyes, and that was a good game from this entire team. So being able to just meet everybody, actually get to talk to them for a little bit, and then be able to play laser tag with them as well was just really good to bond with everybody.
I'll chip in too that I've been to a lot of Armageddons, and this was definitely a unique feel. It took a lot of work to go into it. I understand the behind the scenes of it, but it was awesome. The camaraderie, I was able to associate who Vestair was with Mish. I knew Vestair shot me a lot. I had no idea who it was before. And I've seen him for multiple years. It was really cool getting different, and then the games being so close. There were so many close games. was an awesome thing to see. Like you couldn't walk into a system and be like, this team's taking every system, this team's taking, I'm sorry, every game. It was like Tron, for instance. We went into Tron and we thought we were taking 2 to 3 games and we swept it. So yeah, it was an awesome feeling the whole time.
I came back because it was a draft tournament. So I think you did some statistics, Mark. What has it been? Almost 14 years since I played last, something crazy like that.
I'm pretty sure your last one was 2009, if I remember right. So yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of years. Now I am on we also pointed out that I am on a winning streak, so I have won 3 in a row with a 14-year break. But I played in a lot of the early Armageddons and met a lot of the older players. I ran the tournament for a number of years, and it was neat coming back. But I came back because we were doing this, and I thought it'd be a fun way to get to play with some people that in some cases I have played with before, like Mike, or in everybody else. I've never played with them before, so that was very appealing to me, rather than having to beg on a team or something like that. So.
Yeah, I think the going into a draft format, the concern probably from quite a few years ago is who on earth are we going to end up playing with? You kind of look at the pool of players and you go, actually, right now there's pretty much no one I wouldn't mind playing with. But I can think of a few years where there's a few players where I'm like, I really don't want to be drafted with them. So I think it was the right time for the tournament to do this based on the current player base, because I think the player base we've got right now is made up of some really good people. The draft, I was always nervous about how balanced you can make a set of teams, because it's so easy to end up with how do you counter sort of not just the strong players but the weak players. So your bottom end of players can be really unbalancing, and that's always hard to counter when you're kind of doing a snake draft, because it can often the bottom end can actually tilt it so far out for like 1 or 2 teams that get the very bottom 2 players with the least experience. So I think that's something that's even here was highlighted by the last pick. The team that got the last pick player probably did the worst, and I think I don't know how you counter that. It's so difficult. But I think given the situation and how it went, the teams were actually very competitive. The gap in although the top 3 teams in tournament points were really quite close. The next 3 teams down were further apart, but actually when you look at a lot of their games, though they lost their games by a few shots, they weren't getting wiped out, they were just losing a few more games than the rest of the teams. And there were lots of games that we lost by just a few shots, and all the teams experienced that. So I think that shows just how competitively pitched all the teams were. So you're never going to get it perfect, but I think actually overall it was pretty good.
I think there was like a crazy number of ties too, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many there actually was, but
1-1.
Well, there was 2 third-place teams. That's how tied it was. It goes to show
the
that
most ties we've ever had in an Armageddon in games, but also, yeah, the crazy tie for third was pretty bananas.
Well, the fact that was a dead tie, that there was, even that the tie-breaking protocol didn't break it, is what made that really kind of historic and special. So, yeah, I think it speaks well to the tournament as a whole.
I think
Braden has been quiet.
Yeah, Tom and Papa, I think, are the only 2 that haven't piped up yet. So,
I found this Armageddon pretty nice because I've only done 2 Armageddons, but this one was just nice because I got to meet a whole bunch of new people that I've never played with.
Yeah. And Tom, being that this was your first, definitely met a lot of new people. So I'd love to get your newbie perspective on this and how it might have varied from other things that you've done.
Well, all I've really done is like Laser Storm tournaments, kind of regionally here in like Ohio, PA. And even, we've done drafts for that as well. And even this was just so far beyond the pale of like what I've experienced, especially getting to do it with such a great group of people. Like Fatness mentioned earlier, everybody was so just locked in, and that was an honor and a pleasure to get to play with a group that was so serious about playing as a team, having a strategy, and not necessarily like super serious about trying to win, but just trying to play well. And that was a great experience. On top of just like the nonstop go 4 days of travel play.
That 4 days can be intense.
It's very intense, and having the group that I got to do it with was fantastic.
Yeah, the group here was absurdly good. The camaraderie. I don't think I've ever been to an Armageddon where I didn't come out of a game like just pissed off that we didn't plan right or we didn't take the game seriously enough. And this did not happen this year. We never went into a game and got surprised. Like we came out disappointed a few times. Like we could have done something different, but and then there's no arguments. There's literally not one time did anybody like people got mad, but we didn't express it towards each other.
There wasn't any finger pointing, I think is what you're trying to get to, Ryan.
Well, 4 days of competition across a variety of systems means that, everybody had a chance to kind of shine in their own system and learn something new. And I'd love to talk a little bit about the different systems and how you all felt about them and what went down. Day one, we started in Syracuse with an imported system of Qzar. And I know that this is the Brits' home system. So why don't we start with thoughts about how things went and how your team showed up, and how did Qzar go for you guys?
We won all but one game, and that was versus the team with Redneck Tech on it. So there's always a little bit of rivalry between the two of us about whose team wins. So Greg got to chalk one up this year. So I'd say the arena size did not play to my advantage. So there's a lot of wasted travel time trying to find players to make the points. Smaller arenas tend to favor the better players because you can then dominate a lot more players and score a lot more points off them. So, we won, as I said, all the games but one, and we did a pretty good job of avoiding sort of hemorrhaging too many points on people who were new to the system. It's always a difficult one because it's such you have to know the system and have played it to do okay at it, and it can be pretty brutal if you don't.
It can be a challenge with less options for where to go to be able to experience that in the States. So for some people, this might have been maybe a first or a second or a third experience. But also some people have had years behind them, like Bach. So who else wants to weigh in on Qzar?
I'll jump in just for a second. And just to sort of piggyback off of what we were talking about in the last question, having Qzar first was really tough for us because we had a rookie who had never played before and a couple of players with very little experience from just a couple of Armageddons. And like Mike said, we sort of butchered the last game. We didn't play as well as we could have. And when we came out of that game, it would have been really easy to point fingers and say, what are you guys doing? And instead, Mike comes out and he very calmly explains what we did wrong. We talked about it for a minute, and then we just moved on to the next thing. I really had a good time playing Qzar this go around. I think that the 4 or 5 games of it I play every year, I get just incrementally like a touch better. So, by the time I'm 75, I'll probably be a decent Qzar player. But it was really fun playing with these guys and watching them learn Qzar and across the systems entirely. But that early on, I had us penciled in as winning all of our Qzar games. And when we dropped that game, I thought in the back of my head a little bit, uh-oh. And then seeing the team reaction afterwards, I was like, you know what? We're going to be okay because we're all on the same page. And this was a tough one to start with.
Yes. And you've also had years of experience with it. So, it's really nice that we had veteran talent helping to bring along some who are experiencing it for the first time. As a first time experience or an early Qzar experience? Anybody else want to kind of weigh in on what do you think of the system if you haven't played it a lot?
I was gonna say real quick. Sorry, Mahogany. The easy thing that after sort of the Brit or Mike took that like quick little talk with us, that it kind of like built the team camaraderie up like right away for that. So that's like pretty much we took that one loss and we were 5-1 in the starting like the top of the leaderboards. Even though we lost the one game of Qzar, it really just propelled us to like all be comfortable talking to each other about the game strategy. Really in Qzar, we were kind of just going in there with like the idea that like Mike was just going to carry us for a little bit of it. And then like we had a little bit of strategy. There was like, he was giving us tips, but after that loss, we all pitched in that extra bit of like, I think I can do this good, or I think I could do this good, or you could do this better, and all that kind of stuff.
Nice.
I just wanted to say Qzar was interesting in like from just a mechanical perspective. Not interesting like interesting, but like for my first time, I got a crash course from one of the best players in the system, which maybe colors my opinion a little bit of it. But the way that players move and stand and think about engagements was super interesting. And I wish we would have gotten a little more of a chance to kind of play it, duke it out a little bit, like scrap a little bit more. Because the strategy didn't really allow for that, because we were trying to just keep tight, not be too reckless. And maybe if it was like a longer format, we could have gotten into some of that. But I liked Qzar from a theoretical perspective.
That is a good way to put it. I'm going to use that as my phrase. I like this system from a theoretical perspective.
Yeah. And I had a vacation after this event, and so I was trying to manage my like body, what I was doing physically, and so I skipped the Qzar packs in the parking lot on the second night, which I wish I hadn't now, but that's something I definitely
more chances, Tom. I wouldn't worry about it.
That's one of those staples of Armageddon. We talk about the tournament itself, but the bonding outside when you play parking lot tag, that's kind of a unique experience you're not going to get just anywhere.
No, and hotel guests get that surprise as well.
Yes, indeed.
One of the other things I do try and do when I get the opportunity, and unfortunately the scheduling doesn't always permit this, but I try and show newer players who haven't played Qzar before the basics, so they get a feel for the game before they're going into their first tournament game. Dragged a few players out this time and just kind of showed them the basics of Qzar, because there's so much that is never portrayed in the briefing that are absolute basic mechanics of the game that unless you're told do this, if this happens, do that, you wouldn't first realize that's the way to play it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that the schedule unfortunately doesn't permit, but it would be so much nicer. I wish Qzar hadn't been the first system, so I'd had an opportunity to give people more time so they could adjust to the system in advance, but fortunately not.
Well, scheduling is one of the unique things of Armageddon also, because we end up playing these games around the availability of the centers. And as such, to make all the pieces fit, Laser Force had to be broken into two parts. So we played part one on the first night. And who has some thoughts about how that all went? First night versus
Force was no bueno. We can move to the next one.
Yeah, Force was easily our most disappointing experience. The equipment worked fine, but yeah, it was not fun.
Yeah, just to speak very briefly on how that went, we played a couple of really close Force games. We didn't have a home system Force player in this group, and so in my mind, I thought, we'll scrape together a couple here. As long as we don't get swept, it'll be all right. And we lost our first three, I guess, the first night, and then we lost the other two in the second go around. And it was pretty frustrating because we played all right, but we didn't play up to the potential that we could have. And it was another one of those deals where I feel like if we'd have been playing Force for a couple of days, we probably would have won some games because we were figuring it out and getting a little bit better as time went on. But again, you get dumped into a system and you've got no one who plays that system regularly. It's a little bit of a crash course.
And
the
we
second most complicated system on the first day.
Yeah. We lost the game with everyone except one of us alive, and they only had 2. And what was that? Our second game, and that was disappointing. Walking around searching for people, but still losing the game. But you know, it's such a complicated system to just be like, here you go. You gotta go get ammo from this person, and that guy's gonna hurt you a lot more than that guy, and find the medic. And you know, I love the system. It just we did not mesh fast enough. Just not enough experience, like Mark said, not having the home center player to guide us. So we had really good games.
Yeah,
mostly.
I was gonna say too, since that is a Force arena and there was like multiple Force players that is their home arena too, it really hurt us on. They knew exactly where every corner and nook and cranny would have been that the medic or ammo could be in. So a lot of the times, you know, one of them would be coming in and they'd already know exactly what our plan was because they've played in that arena for years. So there's a couple of those that kind of just hurt us a little bit since we were still trying to get our feet together, but.
There was a lot of team coordination as well, where we just screwed it up. Timing of when we were going back for resupply, the entire team went back to be resupplied at the same time, which doesn't work. So there's things like that where we realised what we had done, but of course you've lost the game at that point, haven't you? So we then tried to fix it for the next game, and we did better, but then we found some other mistakes that we were making every time. We're kind of like, oh, we fixed this, but now we've got a new fault that we found in it, and it's because we don't have that system skill. We've got some experience, but nothing major, and certainly not the kind of wherewithal in advance to realize the mistakes that the rest of the whole team's going to make as a collective. So there was a lot of very disappointing games simply because we could all see how we could have won it.
And again, we really bounced back from that, even with the disappointment of losing all 5 of those games. Nobody had their head down. Like, it was frustrating, but nobody was, well, we just blew the tournament because we lost those games. It was just, well, we're behind now and we got to make some ground up, and right back to work.
And it really is interesting that you could, not have the success you want in a complete system and yet still bounce back to first. So it really shows, there's more to this than just being good in one area. And I agree, Force is a more complex game to just jump into. So for those who are newer to Force, any thoughts on what you experienced?
You want to go? No, go ahead.
My biggest problem when I was playing Force was just I would shoot one person thinking they would go down, but they're the heavy and stuff. So I shoot them and I walk off and I get shot in the back. It's like, gosh dang it.
Yeah, the more than any other game, there's so much in the way of objectives and needs going on in Force, and it's such a tough thing to keep all that rolling in your head as you're running around trying to get shot, not get shot. That was the only system I think that I felt completely helpless in, like 100%. Just no, I think somebody might have said it earlier. I'm pretty sure I set the record for earliest departure for a scout in that game. Yeah, like I walked out and one of the other guys from Ohio was like standing there and he looks at me. Shouldn't you be in there? Nope. Nope, sure shouldn't.
Well, all right. Well, you let that roll off your back. And then next day, you find yourself in Pennsylvania playing some Lasertron. So how'd Lasertron go?
Why don't you start that one off, Cookie?
Well, I mean, I honestly think as a team, like just going into Tron, we knew that I had played some Lasertron. That's my main system. Obviously, everybody that's been playing Armageddon a lot has played plenty of Lasertron too. But as soon as we were in the arena, full team walking around the arena, instantly everybody's jumping in, like identifying the different spots where good spots would be, defensive or offensive. I was just pretty much calling out everything that I could possibly see. Like literally just yelling at Fatness across the arena, like, "Hey, I see this spot over here. This would be a great defense spot." And then like we'd just show it to all the new players, even if they hadn't played Tron, just so in that way everybody would know like multiple different defensive positions. We kind of got like 3 defense players that volunteered for playing defense, gave them like 2 or 3 positions to hold down where the angles would be, and then pretty much everybody just took their role and just kind of ran with it from there.
I was really impressed with Cookie. His leadership sort of exploded when we got to Tron, because we were in the arena and like you said, he's pointing out all these spots and talking about angles and talking about hallways and like if you're here, you can shoot here and here. And as the games happened, he's up in the middle of the field calling things back and we're calling things forward. And we as a team just meshed so well immediately in that game, and we just absolutely crushed people at Tron, which I did not expect. I thought we'd win 3 maybe, and we just absolutely took it to everybody. Our defense was great, the communication was awesome, and Cookie just did such a good job of controlling the middle of the field for us and making sure we had contingency plans if things didn't go the way we wanted them to. And it was incredible to watch. Like we went from, oh, we're going to be all right at this, to, oh, we're the team to beat now, and nobody did.
So I haven't played. Obviously, I used to work for Lasertron and started the Lasertron tournament scene that existed for a while. I haven't played on this new equipment, so it's different enough that there was a change that was necessary to play on it, but the way Kessler designs arenas is still the same, even with the new parts. So it was very easy to get into the traffic flow and the understanding of the arena. And yeah, I'd say we probably surprised people that thought there were teams that had a couple of Tron players on them that I think they thought they were going to walk us as long as they could control Cookie, and that was not really the case.
There was no controlling Cookie.
Well, there was no controlling all of us. We were even against some really good Tron players. We defended very well and surprised a lot of people in that. So that was fun for me. So I didn't feel like I was just running around and hiding.
This was the first system where we got to really play as a team, because QZAR, everyone's off on their own force. Other than when you're resupplying, you're off on your own. So I really got to see. I was downstairs with Cookie, Mish, and Papa. And Papa, you're very tall, just so you know. And watching Cookie having forward, me and Mish in the middle with Papa, and really hearing the communication. You really felt the mesh of the team during this one. Shout out to Woods and Britt and those ramps going upstairs. Thank you for doing that. I didn't want to do it. I'll never want to do it. So thank you.
Tom almost
My toenail still hasn't grown back.
Yeah, talking about saving yourself by not playing in the outdoor, the hotel QZAR, and then you're running up and down ramps in Tron.
Almost died that first game. That first game was rough, very rough. I think Fatness had to take me aside and be like, "Hey, man, just bring it down. Just roll it,
That was
that
one I think Tom knew, but it was probably better that I told him, just tap the brakes, buddy. You're don't kill yourself in game 1.
Always helpful to hear it from somebody else, even if you've got it in your head.
There are a couple more points that I did want to point out that I think we did good. I think we had like a lot more like team meetings, pretty much. Like after every single Tron game, we had a team meeting about like, this is what I saw, this is what you guys saw, and we sort of all just gave each other that instant feedback, and we kept it rolling in every single game. And one of the things that we did in our practice game that we did that for was immediately recognizing that rapid fire was going to be way better than bonus mode, and then knowing that every single person on the entire team should never use anything other than bonus mode. or other than rapid fire. Sorry. So just don't use bonus mode. Don't use the blaster mode. Just only use the rapid fire, and you can use it to punish people if they come in to try to tag the base. Those were like really big things that we did that I don't think that a lot of other teams really utilized as much.
Yeah, Cookie came up with that pretty quickly, and myself and the Baron especially, but I'm sure everybody, we used that rapid fire quite well every time anybody pushed our base. We started loading up right at the beginning of the game and just waiting, and if they drove in, hit rapid fire right away, and they couldn't even get in the base to get shots off because they lost their lives so fast because we had rapid fire up and running already. It was effective and it worked every single game that they pushed our base early. We repelled them, and then they were a little scared to come back because things went so badly the first time.
I want to say at Tron, especially at all the systems, but it was neat playing with a group of people, and we've talked about team camaraderie and the fact that we were, cerebral and not emotional about this, but it was neat playing with a bunch of people that I knew they were going to be on the field where they said they were going to be. I knew that people were going to take their positions. That's something that, back in the day at Photon was a big deal. You had players that would hold their positions even if they were taking a little bit of a beating, and you had people that got tagged twice and went, running off screaming. And then they weren't where they needed to be, and the whole thing fell down. And I think the best part about the way Tron worked is that everybody was where they were supposed to be doing what we asked them to do, whether they were, doing awesome at it or not. And that allowed us to win those games, was the way we were working together as a team.
Excellent. Does anybody else want to weigh in on this?
I was just going to say I'd have been interested that that arena, because of the base location, made it far more of a defensive arena. So trying to get into that base was a real tough thing to do. And I wonder how much of the wins that we won were because we were set up very strongly for defense and took opportunistic offense as opposed to going all out offense. If the arena had been laid out in a way that kind of favored an offensive game style, then maybe we wouldn't have done as well as we did. So
yeah,
maybe the arena helped us.
We definitely recognized early that it was going to be a more defensive style game. And the good news is we had a bunch of guys who like to play defense anyway. So we had plenty of volunteers to protect the base, and it worked out really well.
Yeah, that was one of those things about the hallways. I think that I probably would have mentioned a little bit more on the offensive side if I felt there was like some more danger. But as soon as they put that garbage bag up on that one attack area in that little corner, I was like, yeah, just don't go after the base. It's not worth it.
Well, the base can sometimes make or break a game, which is a great segue into the next center that was played was Ultrazone in Bensalem, Pennsylvania. And Zone is all about that base. So who'd like to weigh in on how did Zone go for you? And we should also say, the only 3-team format. So I think that automatically makes it a little bit of a different vibe for a tournament. So what do we think of that?
Just really briefly kind of talk about what we thought as a team, because we didn't have a zone player on this team. And I went into that with the mindset of we just need to not lose. Like, as long as we get second in every game, we're doing okay. We just can't afford to get zeros. And we got 2 firsts and the rest seconds. And no, I don't think anyone on the team expected we were going to win a zone game. Like, we were fully on board with the don't lose plan there, because, just don't give up points. And the first couple games went a little rocky just because we had a bunch of people who didn't 100% understand how important bases are. And after we sort of shored that up and had everybody on the same page, where those of us who were more about holding bases and going and getting bases were coming back and communicating when we needed to move up and go after the bases, we really started to step up and play much better in zone overall. I know Tom, especially early on, was a little flummoxed by zone, but by the time we were done, he was pretty into it. And we played really well. I was so happy with how we played in zone, considering we didn't have a zone player to kind of anchor our team.
Yeah, zone was funny because I understood the concepts and what we needed to do, but it was just kind of sort of being lost, but then also not having the legs under me to do what needed to be done to get into the base, stay in there, get my hit. And the first game, I think I just got knocked out of the base every single time, and then it was like, all right, we got to move on. Like, and so everybody's leaving, so we could get another spot. But yeah, by the end of it, I was very much in the groove of get in, stay in, get what I need, get out. That was probably the most pure fun I had at Armageddon was playing zone.
I liked how
I was,
so go on, Cookie.
I was gonna say that playing that after Tron was probably like really good for us based on the communication that we had in Tron. So when we did have a base, there was multiple times where whether it was like Mike going up there or Mike being at the top and then one of us going up to get him because he couldn't hear that we had one of the bases. Like everybody was willing to sacrifice getting tagged a time or two to make sure that we got the other guys into the base after we figured out that those tags were more worth it and everything like that. So I think that the team communication really just led us all the way through zone.
Yeah, we kind of had that team lead. Kind of you were running, Chris was running the kind of the offensive, saying which base we're going to go for, so we're all on the same page. Made it simple. It's like you decide we're going to support you in that and go with you to there, and then that coordination of right now we're changing base. It worked well as a mechanism for the team because somebody has to take point on these things, and it worked out quite well for us. If we had more zone skills, then we would maybe have won some more games. But we did amazingly well given the lineup of the team and the kind of fairly low zone experience level across the team. We're very proud of that result.
Definitely. Anybody else have zone thoughts before we progress?
You felt it in zone specifically, like having players that had not played it before. You could definitely feel it then trying to coordinate those attacks and such. But we did pull through. It was really good. One of the most memorable quotes I have of this Armageddon was Britt telling me that we needed to stay on the zone player that was upstairs. And like we had to be on him. And I looked at him and I said, how is that a good idea? And the zone player, I don't want to call him out, he's like, it's not. So I left. But it was a good time. I always enjoy zone. Those bases are in and of themselves an experience that you don't get anywhere else.
I assume you're talking about Lone Wolf there.
Yeah, that was him.
I had some really good fun one-on-ones with the Lone Wolf up top. It was a really good little battle we had on quite a few games.
I was just going to point out that this is almost one of the original Armageddon arenas. We've been playing in Bensalem at the Ultra Zone since the second, I believe the second year of Armageddon was the first time we went and played out there. And it's neat to go back there. It hasn't changed the arena, so it's kind of cool to play somewhere that you played 15, 20 years ago and it's still in operation. It's still the equipment still works. It's still going strong.
Can I petition to free the blue base, the upstairs above the blue base? I don't know why we're not allowed to play there. I'll start a petition for that.
Asymmetrical three-team arenas are symmetrical three-team arenas are impossible to make. Zone will always have a fatal flaw in the design of the arena. It is you can't buy real estate where you can make an effective three-team what it would be an isosceles triangular arena. The space doesn't get built right. So that three-team game, as cool and interesting as it is always going to be inherently unfair and unbalanced for whoever gets, whatever monkey gets squeezed in the middle.
Sounds like you need a dome.
There is a laser dome, oddly enough.
We're on the right track.
All right. Well, Zone was fit into the schedule in the morning so that we could accommodate all of the things that needed to be, including arena availability and travel time back. And we've already addressed part 2 of Laser Force, that we won't beleaguer that. So by the end of day 3, before Force was factored in, I believe, but by the end of day 3, your team was sitting in 3rd place. So I know the day 4 was pretty significant and kind of interesting on a few fronts. Now, we won't rehash this much, but we had Blast. There needed to be a system drop there, but I don't want to ignore the fact that fun was had by all, I hope. So would you guys like to weigh in on what you felt about your Blast experience?
I think we'll leave Mish for that one. Since he's been so quiet.
I mean, my Blast experience, it was good. Like, I always enjoy playing Blast, and I always enjoy that. I enjoy the complaints that I hear from people, because they're like, "Oh, yeah, we hate Blast," because it's such a, like, the way that we've always played it with the 2-second skill shot. Like, there is no other system where you're going to shoot anywhere near that close, and that's what we've always enjoyed about being unique from every other system. And between the slow shot and how like pinpoint accurate it can be at times, and then at other times it seems to be like, you're trying to shoot someone and you know that you're shooting them, and then you say, well, that's also part of laser tag. Sometimes you just can't hit. But yeah, I mean, I hope that even though we did drop the system, I hope that people were able to have a good time playing it. Similar with Qzar, I think Blast suffered from too large of an arena for too few players. Had we cut the back thirds off of the arena and just played in that middle third, I think it would have been the games would have been a lot more up tempo, a lot more exciting, and we wouldn't have a game where it was 5-4
or 1-1.
Well, what's also
actually, that
interesting
was
about
technical, I think.
with Blast in Armageddon, it was played as an elimination format, and so going back to to the phrase I love that Tom said earlier, theoretical thoughts on this. What do you think of elimination formats just as a tournament component?
I personally, from every Armageddon that we've played Blast with, it's been my favorite game mode every single time, because I think that the elimination format's the best format out of everything. Like, team-wise, it could be like 4 people left versus 6 people, and you could still like hash it out and still win. And I think that's a pretty cool, like, still fighting back even with the less people can be really interesting. And then I think the not having a reflex shot kind of thing from Qzar going into Blast is another like skill metric to really bring up like dodging and like just a whole nother world of dogfighting. So
yeah, I think that most systems, if you try to play an elimination format, are going to be tough, because in a lot of systems, if you're playing an elimination format and somebody really good is on you, well, you're going to be out in a minute and a half. And in Blast, because the shots are so slow, you have a chance to dodge shots, to move around, to get help, and it makes the game, makes the game a little more interesting and a little bit more strategic. Because like, if we were going to play Laser Quest with an elimination, there'd be people out of the game in 45 seconds. And no, that's fun for the people that are good at it, but that is not fun at all for the people who aren't. I had a much better time overall playing Blast this year than I ever have before, and I don't know if it was just I finally am figuring out a little bit of how to play with such a slow shot, or maybe I'm just getting old and the slow shot just is more like a regular shot for me now. But I really had a lot more fun playing Blast than I have in the past, and I was bummed that we had to end up dropping the system. But at the same time, I feel a lot more excited about playing Blast in the future than I ever have in the past.
I enjoy Blast a lot, actually, but I feel it like this year it's just one of the numerous systems that suffered by the importing of it to an arena that's not Blast. Like that double ramp arena that we play in PA, I think, or maybe it's up there. That's a really good arena. Everyone gets eliminated. Like there's always one team left. Whereas I don't think we had a single elimination this year. Did we have any teams get fully eliminated?
Yeah,
I
there were
think we
4
did
games
one.
There's 4.
From the scores at least.
Okay. So, but the system was good. Not to hash out the throwing out, but it does. It just as a player, it felt better on the one side. Like it just felt. I don't know if I was just luckier and hit more, but it did feel better. So
Yeah, so I think the big difference there was as you said, that the arena we played before kind of created a scenario where there was always shot opportunities, whereas this arena, people could bury themselves and hide away, and there was really difficult places that you could go, and it made for a more frustrating game because of that.
Yeah.
It wasn't as enjoyable just because people hunkered down, and it became difficult to break out of a sniping thing, and people were just conserving lives and hiding, which makes for a boring game. And it favoured one colour more than the other, and there was a bit of a pack imbalance combined, made that kind of really wonky set of results where red team won every game, which is just unfortunate. I wonder if we happen to have assigned the colours the other way round, if actually the system would have been kept, because the arena balance might outweigh the packing balance and kind of create for an actual relatively balanced game.
they'll say Mish did not hide. There was no hiding
no.
for Mish. That man was sweating every game, every game.
Definitely.
Excellent. Well, after Blast, we went into the second of 3 systems on that last day, which was Tactical. And shout out to Mark Mueller for making the drive from Maryland to be able to accommodate setting this up for us in Syracuse. And Tactical Tag, what do we think? Played some Battle Company.
First and foremost, all the love in the world to Mark. Mark and I played on a couple of teams together way back in the day. We were called the Wonder Twins back then because we both played defense on some of the Legends of Laser Tag teams that were around in the 2005, 2004 in there. Mark's a great guy, and the system is fun to play as well. I personally don't like Tactical because my eyes don't work very well when I don't have blinking lights to shoot at. So I didn't have a great time, but I was really impressed with the leadership that popped out while we were playing Tactical across the board, but especially Tom. Tom just headfirst dove into Tactical and was as gung-ho as anybody I've ever seen about Tactical, and frankly, it was awesome.
That full-on Call of Duty blood just came right out of him.
That gamer blood just boiled. Yeah, Tactical was like super similar to Storm. At least it felt similar to Storm to me from like a physicality perspective. And so that way you sensors on your head. They in the rules they tell you, keep your rifle at your eye level, and so that was like I'm used to that, and so I just felt like in the groove. Didn't have to think much and just could, play like the meta game of like where are these sight lines at, where should they come from, and I could just play the game, and it felt really good. It felt like I felt pent up, and I didn't realize it until I started playing that game. So.
That's a really interesting comparison to make to Storm, because I don't think everybody would draw that, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah, Storm players generally like Tactical. We usually go in enjoying it. I'll say, like Mark, it's hard to see specifically that arena. I think Tactical got robbed a little bit. Shout out to Mark. The equipment that I think that's 2 years in a row now. Tactical has worked, and we have kept it, and no one has complained about the equipment, whereas Tactical has its little history. I just wish we could potentially do that one, like maybe in an outdoor setting. Bring that back, or
I would love to play it outdoor. Yeah.
So, but shout out, it was good. I really enjoyed Tactical. I don't feel like I did great on that arena at all, but that was more of a me issue than anything else.
I can't even remember, how did we end up scoring in tactical?
We won all but one, I believe.
We
We
won.
tied
No,
two.
we tied twice.
Oh, we tied
won
two.
twice, and we lost. I think.
That's it, yeah. And it wasn't like we were hiding and playing defense in the ties. We were out there gunfighting in at least one of them. And I think the other one, the other one we were playing against the team that decided not just turtle, and
the
that game ended at
1-1 where we were literally like we were in their third of the arena, like, and they were just all on the back wall, and there was a little sound bug from Tom getting first blood. It gave him the initial hit, and then he took a hit, and then we came back. It gave him another hit sound for the same exact hit. So we're literally all just standing there, just thinking it's 2-1. It's 2-1. They got to move. They got to move.
And,
and we're in their area.
Yeah. Then that bug hit as I was hitting somebody else, who then got away, and then the sound bug hits, and I'm we got 2 now, and then that was. We're sitting here with 2. When they're going to come out, they're not going to come out. And then it was 1-1. So
it's a tie.
It is what it is.
But the other tie, there was a lot more hits. It wasn't.
It was like
it wasn't 1-on-1, which is pretty crazy if you think about it.
Yeah, it had
was
like 6 ties or something. The 4 to 6 ties in tactical, which is crazy.
Yeah, it was a lot. Myself and Baron had fun just locking down a little zone of the arena every game. Every time we went to the same spot and just controlled that one little spot together and just stopped anybody getting around behind. And that kind of sort of working as a team where we were picking bits of the arena and just locking those bits out and working together to make sure that we were always protecting the rest of the team and calling out if we were out of that area so people knew to look down that way. So I think there's a good few times a Cookie was kind of covering the area when I was going back to get resupplied. So yeah, we worked well together, just kind of fixing that and making sure we didn't let people get in behind us, which I saw a number of teams just lose so many lives from somebody coming around behind.
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback on what Mike just said, I something popped into my head while he was talking about it. And either before the first or the second game of tactical, we had the map of the arena, and at one point there were probably 5 of us all just kind of crowded around the map talking about, well, I could play here because I'm left-handed, and that would look down this hallway, and you could be here, and we make this triangle here, and I mean, everybody was just so on board with coming up with strategies that worked and talking about like where they wanted to play and what'd be good for you and what'd be good for me. And it was fairly late in the tournament, but it was still really nice to see that everybody was just completely and totally on the same page and just trying to set everybody up for success and not worried about, oh, well, this is where I want to be because I know I'm going to score the most points.
Well, very good. Well, it sounds like everybody felt like this was a pretty positive experience with the tactical, and I'm glad to hear that. And made for a good long start to the day before we ended up with Laser Storm as the final system. So I know there's some Storm players in this group. Thoughts about this?
Go, Ryan.
Yeah.
I was gonna let Tom lead the way. Is the first Storm player there?
So Storm's the only game that I played. I had played Blast once at like a fun center, but it wasn't really much of. Anyways, Storm was. I was very tired, but it kind of brought me back. We kind of just reiterated our tactical strategy for Storm, but just with a little more of, Papa and I trying to get out and be mobile and
try
cause
to stop
chaos.
Try to stop their good players.
Yeah, if they had a Storm player.
Cool Cat could get behind them and shoot all their newbie players.
Yeah, and that for the most part that worked beautifully. 2 of us just made chaos and targeted the better players to keep them respawning.
I was just going to say, we went into Storm chasing by 2 and
3
change points.
Yeah, we needed to win 3.
Right. So because
we
we
had
were
to
chasing
gain
by
3 on them.
2 and 3/8 or something like that points. And we knew that Axeman's team didn't have any actual Storm players. They had Swaz, who's good, and they had somebody else that was Ricky, who's also a pretty good Storm player. But we knew we should be able to take care of business in Storm. And I had done some math on the back of a pizza box to figure out where we stood going into Storm. And so we knew going into Storm that if we swept Storm, we were going to be a really good chance, like have a really good chance to win. And we figured that they were not going to have a whole lot of success at Storm because there was a lot of Storm players on other teams. And we won, I guess, our first 3. And then we played against the team that had it was Lenari's team that had Lenari and Gumby. And we dropped that game. If we'd have won that game, we'd have sealed the deal with a game to go. But instead, we dropped that game. It was pretty close, but we lost. So going into the last game, we knew we had to win that to win the tournament, and we did. So it worked out. But yeah, it came down to I think that was the second to last game of the whole tournament. And that was what propelled us to the victory. But sorry, good, Tom, if you want to jump back in now that you've got your phone anchored again.
I had a point that I was making, and it's gone from my brain now. So that's.
You were tired, and you were starting to lock in a little bit.
I was tired, but that getting to putting on the vest, it felt real good. I was gonna say the two of us just kind of tried to sow chaos. I'm pretty sure Cool Cat was like the second highest scoring Storm player in there, so we created a bunch of space and were obnoxious, and Cool Cat went in there with his backup with Mish and Cookie backing him up and just rolled. And I'd come out every time, and I'm seeing all these guys like plus 30, plus 25, and I'm like, I did go to like plus 8 maybe. Like, dang guys, all right,
Once we figured out the sight lines for the Storm bases and where people were going to be coming from when they re-energized, we were just slaughtering them as they were coming back into the middle of the field. And like everybody said, we were holding position so well that even if they knocked somebody out, somebody else would step up into that line and knock them out. And then we reset, and we're getting 4 to 6 tags to every 1 or 2 we're giving up. It was pretty impressive to watch. As somebody who's not a great Storm player, watching everybody else kind of lock in felt pretty good because I knew we were doing well.
Yeah, everybody did a fantastic job in Storm. I was very impressed with performances.
Yeah, Storm, I will once again shout out that's not a Storm arena, and Storm tournaments don't play with 2 shields, but I understand the tournament has to run as it does. And in Storm, there's such a gap in Storm from your lower level, middle level, higher level, and then your top tier players that any Armageddon player, like just to get to the high level, not even top tier, is really, really difficult. So it's like Britt walking through me and Qzar. Like we just have so much Storm experience. We have the timing perfect and know where to aim. Like that was one of my briefings to these guys is you have to put the red circle in a very specific spot where other people that have never played Storm before, they don't do that. But it was good. Gumby, kudos to you. You beat us by 12. My pack sucked. Fine.
Get him.
I'll jump in my kudos to Ryan and Tom for their Storm advice. I didn't even know anything that I was doing wrong the past 2 years for Storm, but after I learned that I could use the wall that was right here and then just sort of cover this one with my whatever on this cheek one right here with my my nose up, all the pregame little feedback from both of them. They literally just gave me all the glitches that I could possibly do to make sure I didn't get tagged, pretty much.
By design.
Yeah.
Gotta know how to
not a bug. Yeah.
Well, I love hearing that this was a nail biter to that last game and that's what let you know that you really pushed it over. I think that it's kind of cool when things come down to that final moment. And definitely a really fun tournament all the way around. And props to all the teams. I just want to shout them out that we had in 6th, there was Maximum Velocity. In 5th was Implausible Deniability. 3rd was a tie, Qualified Bears against my team, which was Systematic Chaos, well named. Then 2nd came the X-Men. And again, congratulations to all you guys. 1st place with the Fatness is Angels. I love that name as well. And before we wrap things up here, I always love to end with a few questions of rapid fire tag talk. But when there's more than one person, it gets interesting because my rule is you can't use the same answer. So I would love to round robin this. I'll just call you by name for your answer. Just a quick thought on each of these questions. And we'll start with favorite laser tag system. Mike.
Right, well, if we're going to make the assumption that we can't have our own home system, because I
I
think
didn't
that's a
make that
fair one.
assumption. That's up to you.
I would say Force.
Okay. All right, Mark.
I mean, Laser Quest, but RIP. So if I've got to pick one that we actually played, I'll say I actually had the most fun playing Storm this go around.
Ryan.
Holy moly, did he just say that? I want to go with I love Tron. Tron mimics Storm with the re-energizing and with the proper set of chips. I like the random chips better, but I love Tron.
Okay. Mish?
This year, I think I had the best time playing Tron. Like, I'd always kind of been hesitant about Tron in the past, but I did really have a good time this year. And I think a lot of it has to do with like the team and our teamwork. But like, and because of what happened with Blast, yeah, Tron for me.
Okay.
Well,
Tom?
I loved all the systems we played. Favorite probably would have been not Force. Tron.
Okay. Brayden?
Mine probably was Zone. I just like the 3-player base, and it's my second most experienced in Forgetting.
Very good. Chris?
I would say Blast, but I'm gonna go with Storm just because of my personal. I think that my level of Storm this year compared to the other years was just so much higher from the tips and the team around me. But generally, I liked Blast a lot as always. But we're still voting Storm.
And Jason?
From a personal standpoint, I enjoy tactical, although I wish we'd have played it outside. I really like that equipment and I enjoy that style of play. From this year with these guys, playing Lasertron was just a blast because of the way we played together. So that for that reason it was the best experience, even though I'd rather play with the tactical stuff personally.
Okay. Well, a lot of great answers there. A lot of similar answers. So we'll see if we can vary this up for this next question. What is your favorite prize or souvenir from any laser tag event? Mike?
Oh, goodness. You put me right on the spot there. Everyone else has got an opportunity to think about this.
You're in the corner of my screen. You get picked on first.
I think one thing that I liked was the glass trophy from 2007 Armageddon.
Yes.
That was good. I like that.
Now, Jason in the other corner has all the rest of you to answer before he has to come up with a different answer. All right. Favorite prize or souvenir, Mark?
I just think the medals at Armageddon in general are such a fun prize to have. When I got back, I've sorted through all the stuff I've got. I'm missing a couple, but I've played in 12 Armageddon, so that's an awful lot of hardware to have. But just the whole concept of medals as an award for how you do for second or third, I think is really awesome.
I agree. And this is a good opportunity to give a shout out to George Raptis, who designed and made these awesome medals that were very cool, a very unique resin design that has the Armageddon logo. And so shout out to him for doing some amazing work making those custom medals for us. Very nice.
Love you, George.
Favorite prize or souvenir, Ryan?
I'm not super big on medals, and I like them. It's fine. My favorite thing that I get is like the team chat that we have, and then all the kudos we give to each other. And I hadn't realized how stale I had gone, you know, being with the same people over and over again this year with all the different perspectives. That's something I did a little review on every single person, like thank you, and that it felt really good. That's what I like.
Nice. Mish?
Are you asking specifically about like laser tag tournaments or favorite thing in general for laser tag?
Anything in laser tag is fair game here.
Probably the plaque that I got for being part of the world record attempt at the longest laser tag game.
Nice. Yes, that's very cool.
Would not do it again though. Oh man. Yeah, you
Can we just
think
take
some
a
of that?
moment on that? Could you just give us a moment on where that was and how long that took?
Oh yeah, so we played. I think it was 2018. We played at Canton Zap Zone, and the previous record was 25 hours, set by some QZR players in Italy, I believe. And we ended up completing the record with, I think, 26 hours and some amount of minutes, constant play. And yeah, wearing a vest for that long was very painful in the shoulders.
Well earned.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun though. It was a really good time.
Nice. How about you, Tom?
Well, so this is the first thing I've won in laser tag. I had some like seconds or thirds in Storm, but this is the first thing I've won. So thank you guys. My favorite souvenir is probably just the memories I made on this trip. It's been so cool. Like there's not much I can really, I can't really understate it or overstate it. It's just been so cool. Like, so thank you everybody for, you know, playing with me and being cool dudes. And yeah.
Very good. How about you, Braden?
My favorite souvenir was just kind of like playing with everybody, because I've never played with like anybody on this team ever. Maybe with Cookie on your Tivia Geddon, but not just never played with anybody else, and it's just nice to play with random people.
Nice. How about you, Cookie?
Okay, so I have two things. We'll go honorable mention from last year, where I was Rooster / cockiest player here. Got the winner with this. That's from the Cope Armageddon awards. And then we're going the true favorite award here, the Tivia Tag for a Cause award for Tron last year. Getting the highest score in one of the Tron games for you. So
awesome. And I appreciate you supporting and participating in that.
Yeah.
And Jason.
So like Mike, I still have my very nice high quality glass award for what was that, 7, Mike?
Yeah.
So but the backstory is even better because Mike and I played with Ricky, who's a lot of fun to play with. Not always it's chaos, as we know. When you hang out with Ricky, it's chaos when you play with Ricky. And so we won games we shouldn't have won, and we lost bad games we should have won sometimes with Ricky. But for years, Ricky and Mike and I, for like 2 or 3 years, have been coming up second place to probably Mark's team, to Legends at that time. And for years, Ricky bought really cheap budget, go to the trophy store, kids soccer level medals for the winners and second place and stuff like that. And then the one year we won, Ricky splurged and bought like all these nice glass plaques for the winners. So that was the best part about winning that plaque, was listening to Lee bitch and moan and groan that all he'd gotten was crappy medals. And the one year that we won, Ricky got something nice, and oh, surprise, surprise, Ricky's team won that year.
That's one of 2 years that I played that I didn't medal, was 2007.
Wow.
Well, congratulations on all your medals for this year. And final question, final go around is just best reason to play Armageddon or props that you want to give. Any final thoughts from any of you guys? I'll just let you speak up on this.
I'll go first because I'll do my best not to take up a ton of time here. But the props I have, this group of people was incredible. They were such a good team. and I'll take very minimal credit. I picked the team, but at the same time, I had no idea how great this group was going to be. Like I said, I think I played 12 Armageddons now, and as far as the group goes, having a draft and getting a quality group of people like this that get along, that are on the same page, that have the same goals in mind, and are so selfless was just unbelievable. It was such a great experience for me, and I'd like to think for everybody else in the group as well. But I was blown away with how quickly everybody meshed, how quickly everybody listened. And I am not by any means a strategic leader. I'm a people leader. I'm good at facilitating people to do the best that they can. And everybody leaned into that so fast and so well. And it was just such a pleasure to have a group of guys who wanted to work to win and who, like I've said several times, just didn't care about how they did. All they wanted to do was succeed as a group and boost up everybody else and put everybody else in a place where they could do well and win. And I've told these guys several times, I've gushed in our group chat. I gushed after we finished the tournament. What a great group of people. I couldn't be happier with this team. And I love all you guys so much. It was such a pleasure captaining and playing with you guys.
Very nice. Other thoughts?
I'll shout out to the people that organized it, the people that pushed it for years to make it happen. I wish they would do like some sort of post or something on like how much they actually did to make this happen, the amount of work that put into it. Because we just showed up and we were on a team. Like there's people that spent hours and days. I participated in one of the drafts, the fake drafts, and my team lost, of course. But shout out to all of them. Thank all you guys. One of my best Armageddon. I have a lot of them, but one of the best Armageddon experiences I've had with this group of people.
I want to shout out all the Ohio Armageddon players specifically, who I've been kind of hanging around with for several years now. At different parties or events or whatever, I've heard so many Armageddon stories, which is like probably 90% of the reason that I came to begin with. But for all of those stories, I have probably seen 10 dozen pantomimes of different systems, and that's probably 90% of the reason that I felt in any way comfortable at all playing any of these games was, oh well, I've seen so and so do this, so I guess that's how this goes, and it works like half the time. So shout out to those guys.
I'm gonna say it's not the sorry, Papa Smurf.
No,
but I was gonna say it's not as easy as you might think it is, but it is definitely a fun challenge to take on. When I was just beating everybody at my local Lasertron, and I was told about this tournament, I was like, people, there's probably like at first they were like, oh, people in their like 40s play, people in their 50s play, people in their 15-year-olds play, and I was like, oh, I'll just be able to go beat everybody. And then I got there my first year, and I got completely destroyed in multiple different methods. One for sure was Qzar. I got absolutely demolished. And then the other was Storm for sure. But coming every year, I'm getting that much better at all the different game modes. And, Mark already said the people and everything like that. But the main thing to me is just the challenge of trying to get better, whether it's against myself or everybody else here. I think that's another really great thing that Armageddon puts together is there's so many different systems and so many different challenges for everybody.
I'd say a couple of things that impressed me. I think Cookie, you stepped up a lot during the tournament from the very beginning to kind of midway through. You really found your kind of the groove and were like getting really into the strategies of everything. So the first game you're pretty quiet about everything. By the middle of it all, you were right in there and really kind of helping drive the team into doing stuff as a team, and Mark kind of being that glue that kind of held us all together, and we would all kind of sit around and you kind of allowed that kind of conversation to happen, sort of smoothed it all out so that we had that opportunity. And of course to everybody else, because it's we're a team and we played as one, and it was really good.
Mish,
I did want to
Layden,
add on.
Jason? Oh, please.
I wanted to add on that I did all the people, but playing Armageddon, I've been there a lot of years. It's the only time that I'll ever play laser tag because it's the only time you'll run into master classes of the system, other than going to like maybe a Storm Nats or a Zone Nats or something. Nothing compares to Armageddon. Like there's no other tournament out there like it. Encourage you to try it. It's not fun the first couple of years unless you jump onto a very lucky team. But outside of the laser tag, the hotels, the bus, it's a very good 4 days. Very well worth it for what we actually pay. So
Yeah, until you get rained on in the bus.
Hey, it's better than the school bus.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, I had a great time this year. It was a really awkward time for me. I had been volunteering at a campground right before, and I had 14 hours at home before I left for this tournament. And then, getting thrown into that, it's like, okay, well, here goes nothing. Here goes the draft tournament. But I had a great time. My team, you guys are some of my favorite players that I've ever played with, and it was all random. That was a lot of fun. And I got to give props to Cope for, I think he was strategic in when he was asking me to play, because he knew that I would be working and probably had a few drinks. So as soon as he was like, hey, yeah, sign up, I'm like, okay, done. And then, hey, okay, done. But yeah, and look forward to future years.
Nice. Brayden, did you have thoughts?
Oh yeah, I was gonna shout out to my dad for driving me everywhere and paying for it.
Yes, shout out
That's a good one.
Grumpy.
Yeah.
If he's got more slots available, I'll happily jump on that train next year.
And Jason, you want to bring it home?
Yeah, so 40 years I've been doing this. I took a big break. I haven't really played competitively since probably last time's maybe 2012, 2013. So it's been a long time since I've played, other than dinking around here and there. I didn't think I'd ever go back, honestly. But the draft encouraged me to do it. I'm real glad I did. I would have had such an incredible time if I hadn't gotten sick the last couple of days. I was pretty miserable on Sunday and Monday. Played through it, did all right, but that unfortunately ruined the camaraderie and fun I would have had. But it's a great bunch of people, not just this team, but the entire group to go and play with, because everybody's playing cerebrally, everybody's playing physically. It's neat to know that I can still go in and be okay at 53.
Better than okay. Give me some credit.
Well, but I've lost this. I mean, I used to be a more physical player. But I was lucky that I got in with this group of guys, because I didn't have to be the second best player, the third best player on the team. I could play within myself, and other people would carry me, and I could do my thing. So that was very enjoyable. But this tournament is kind of unique and unusual amongst everything, if you think about it. I mean, you don't play 5 different rules of football, or 5 different rules of tennis, or 6 different kinds of baseball in a tournament or something like that. So it's really an interesting contest, kind of like a decathlon almost, or something like that. And I think that's really cool. And I just love the folks that go and do it. And I'm glad that 20 some odd years later, we're still doing it. So that's fun.
Absolutely. Well put. So I want to thank all of you for taking some time to share your whole experience, and congratulations again to the first place winning team at the 2024 US Armageddon. Fatness is Angels. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Tivia.
Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you.
Thank you.
Laser tag's cool. Play laser tag.
Yeah.
Thanks for checking out this episode of Laser Unfocused Tag Talk. Listen for more episodes on the first and third Friday of each month. Want to be a guest on an upcoming episode? Find out more and follow my blog and website at TiviaChickLovesLaserTag.com.